Welcome, traveler. Tonight we invite you to step into the mist. Not just the mist that rolls through the highlands of Vietnam, but the kind that clings to forgotten places and half-remembered names. There is a city in the mountains where the air is cool, the pines whisper secrets, and nothing is ever quite what it seems. This is the story of Dalat, the city of eternal spring, and of one hotel lost to time, wrapped in ivy and memory, where something, or someone, still waits in the silence. But before we unlock the doors of the Ma Dao Hotel, let's walk through the streets of Dalat together and listen for the ghosts that call it home. Dalat was born from dreams, quite literally. In the late 19th century, French colonials dreamed of a hill station in the cool highlands, a retreat from the stifling heat of Saigon. And so, on a pine-covered plateau, 1,500 meters above sea level, they built a miniature Europe. Villas with red tile roofs, narrow winding streets, lakes shaped like swans, and gardens bursting with hydrangeas. They called it La Petite Paris. Even today, you'll find a miniature Eiffel Tower standing proudly among the fog. But behind this postcard charm lies something older, much older. Before the French ever laid brick on these hills, local tribes whispered of spirits in the trees and shadows that moved along the forest floor. The mountains surrounding Dalat were once believed to be sacred. Certain valleys were never to be entered after dark. Waterfalls were homes to celestial maidens. Rocks bore the footprints of invisible creatures. The air, they said, was too still for coincidence. And even now, despite the cafes, the smiling tourists, the flower festivals, Dalat remains different. Ask the locals and you'll hear stories of the lady in the red Ao Dai, who appears at the edges of wedding photos taken near Xuanhuang Lake, of the abandoned Villa 13, where lights flicker at night, though the building has no power, of the road out of town, where motorbike riders say a hand once gripped their shoulders from behind, only to vanish when they turned around. But the most chilling of all? The story of a hotel, now swallowed by vines, known only as Ma Dao, the ghost horse, and the woman who never left room 13. When evening falls over the pine-covered hills of Dalat and the fog curls low along the winding roads, the locals tend to speak in hushed tones about one particular place, a place shrouded in silence and memory. They rarely say its name aloud, but if you listen closely, you might catch it whispered, Ma Dao. It translates to ghost horse, a strange name for a hotel, but stranger still is the presence that lingers within its crumbling walls. The hotel was built during the French colonial era, elegant, secluded, and nestled among the trees. Back then, it was a place of retreat and quiet luxury, a mountain escape far from the city noise. But the very isolation that made it desirable would become its curse. In the late 1930s, a young couple came to stay there, a French officer and his Vietnamese lover, a striking woman named Lin. Their romance, intense and defiant, was forbidden by both the colonial authorities and her traditional family. Rejected by society, they fled to the hotel, seeking to disappear together into the mist. They chose the last room at the far end of the left wing, a room that overlooked a lake, hidden behind tall pine trees. Locals still say that on certain nights, soft piano notes echo faintly from that direction, as if someone is playing in secret. Others claim they've heard footsteps pacing inside, even though the room has long been locked. One night, during a heavy downpour, the officer was called away to the city. He never returned. His carriage had slipped on a rain-slicked mountain path and plunged into a ravine. The horses scattered. His body wasn't found for weeks. But Lynn didn't know. She waited. Days passed, then weeks. She stopped leaving the room. Maids said they could hear her speaking softly at night, laughing, arguing, singing lullabies, as if her lover had returned and they were together again. But whenever anyone entered the room, she was alone, sitting by the window, her eyes locked on the horizon. Eventually, she was found lifeless on the floor, still wearing her white silk Ma Dao, her hands clutching a faded letter. It was written in French, spotted with tears and age. Her final words were never translated. From that moment on, the room was sealed. But the strangeness only grew. Guests began to complain of voices in the hallway when no one was there. Mirrors reflected figures that weren't in the room. Cold drafts swept through closed windows. And every so often, someone would catch a glimpse of a young woman drifting silently past the far left corridor, her dress fluttering as if moved by a wind no one could feel. As bookings declined, the staff thinned. The owner, once proud of the hotel's reputation, began to isolate himself. Until one morning he was simply gone. All he left behind was the front desk key and a note with only 3 words: "She's awake again." The hotel was officially closed soon after. The building now stands in ruins, half swallowed by vines, its roof sagging under the weight of time. Birds nest in broken window frames, trees have cracked the stone steps. But those who dare to wander close swear they've seen a warm light glowing from that room at the end of the hall. And if you stand quietly at night, just beyond the overgrown fence, you might hear a melody, soft and distant, like an old French song carried on the mist. But don't go closer, because, as the old story warns, if you see her face in the window and she sees you, you may never forget her. She'll appear in mirrors behind you, in shop windows, in your dreams, in the fog. And one day, you might wake up in a room you don't remember booking and realize you've checked into the Ma Dao Hotel forever. Dalat is no ordinary city. Known as the City of Eternal Spring, it was once the romantic getaway for French colonists, a peaceful escape tucked in Vietnam's central highlands. But beneath its cool mountain air, flower-lined streets, and fairy tale architecture lies something more elusive and often more chilling. Locals speak of a second Dalat, one that only reveals itself after sunset. They warn visitors not to wander alone by the old train station, not to answer if someone calls your name in the pine forests, and certainly not to whistle near Juanhuang Lake at night. These aren't just superstitions, they're survival tips passed down through generations. Even today, Dalat hides abandoned villas, forgotten hotels, and echoes of laughter that no longer belong to the living. The mist doesn't just roll in, it stays. And sometimes, so do the things hidden within it. So if you ever visit Dalat, come for the beauty, yes. But listen carefully to what the city doesn't say out loud. And if stories like this thrill you, scare you, or just leave you wondering, what else is out there? Don't forget to subscribe to Hop Coast. We're only just beginning. The mist holds many more secrets, and we're here to uncover them, one legend at a time.